Alright y'all, let's get into making these 15 miniature cleaning items in less than 30 minutes. Let's go. Alright, so first you're gonna need some of this jute twine. It's the small size jute twine. You're gonna need the small size to make what we're making. You're also just gonna need like either, this is a little nail cuticle pusher that I have laying around. You'll need something that's going to be the base of the mop and also the base for the broom. Now, if you don't have, something like this laying around, you can just use wood dowels. You'll need the smallest one. And I do recommend you already having your miniature person so that you'll be able to compare the size of the dolls that you're using to your miniature person that you'll be using also. So we're just going to take our twine again. And instead of cutting small little pieces, we're just going to fold it. Just like this. We're just going to keep folding. Make sure it's long enough. And we're just going to fold it like that. We're going to do that. So I'm just going to call these loop-de-loops. I did do 7 in total of the loop-de-loops. So you're just going to do that 7 times. Here's a 7 loop-de-loop. And that should be good. After that, snip that. Alright, so now what you're going to do is you're either going to take your wooden doll or whatever you're using for the base of the mop. You're going to take the piece of twine that you just cut away. You're going to put the loop-de-loops inside of one of the ends of your dolls, and you're just going to cover that with hot glue. Now, since I used one of the cuticle pushers, I'm just making sure that I covered up all of the white that you see on the cuticle pusher. I'm making sure I cover all the white up with the twine so that you're not able to see, the white through the mop head. And so you're just going to do that with your wooden doll or whatever you're using. So once I have most of the white covered, or once you have most of your wooden doll, like the end of it covered, you're just going to need like basically most of it covered. You're probably not going to be able to cover it all with just, the 7 loop-de-loops. But once most of it's covered, you're just going to cut away just like I did there. And with that extra that you cut away, you'll be able to fill in the little gaps that you missed while trying to cover it up. So here I'm just showing you what the broom would look like while taking some of that hot glue spider webs away. It was getting everywhere. So now what I'm doing is I'm taking some more of that twine and I'm just going to go around the base of where that mop head is sitting at. I'm just going to give it a more cleaner look than what it looks right now. So just take some twine and go around the base of where the mop head is at. Alright, so boom. Next we're going to make the bucket or the tin pail, whatever you want to call it. We're going to make the bucket for the mop. So what I did was I took one of these small cups, get the small version, not the big version. I took one of these small little cups, and as you're going to see here, I just kind of went around it with a box cutter. Alrighty, so after you get your little cutout, it's going to look a little something like this. What I did was I kind of cut around the edge some more because it was not straight from using the box cutter, and then I put some glue on the outside of it and stuck it down to this non-stick ruler. Adding hot glue to plastic, obviously it melts. So this is going to give it that weathered tin look that you usually see in older tin pails. It looks kind of weathered down and old. So that is what the hot glue is, you know, giving it that weathered down look. Now y'all, this hot glue was just everywhere. It was in my nails, all over the cutting board, just all over the place. Hot glue spider webs was just everywhere. So anyways, after you get hot glue around the edge, that's also going to eliminate the sharpness on the edge. You see me here testing it just to make sure that the mop I made fits inside. Now here I got some nail polish. Now this is silver nail polish. I didn't have any silver, you know, spray paint or any silver paint, so I'm using silver nail polish to paint the pail. I wanted to use silver because I want it to look like, you know, one of the tin pails that you would see, you know, back in the day. And so I just used the silver nail polish because that's what I had. I didn't have silver spray paint, but if you can find some silver paint, silver spray paint, nail polish, whatever you have to make it look like a stainless steel barrel, so go ahead and use silver for that. You can also just leave it the color it is. You can paint it whatever color you like. Now this was the first coat. I needed to do it 2 times for it to cover up all the red. So next we're gonna make a broom. So you're gonna need this twine again, and then you're gonna need to find some sort of straw. I had some straw laying around as decor, so I just used that. I also had these little shovels that I got out of little packages that I use for my plants, little sticky packages that look like this. So the shovels came with those, so that's what I'm gonna be using for the broom. So here I'm just going to take the top of the shovel off of here, and then I'm going to use a Q-tip. And what you're going to do is from one end of the Q-tip, you're just going to take all of that cotton off from the Q-tip. And then once you take all that cotton off, the little shovel handle actually has a hole in it, and you're just going to hot glue that inside of there. Now what I'm doing is I'm basically trying to measure how much of the Q-tip I need to cut off. And then once I cut the Q-tip, the other end off, I'm going to set that aside because I will be using that later. So here we have the Q-tip hot glued inside of the shovel, and this is what we're going to use for the broom. So at the other end of that handle, there is a half circle shape. What I'm doing is taking some cardstock and I'm just going to trace around that shape, and I'm going to do that twice. So I'm just tracing around that shape here, and then I'm going to cut that out, and then I'm going to do it a second time and cut that out, or you can just use the same piece and just fold it in half and cut around that shape, and then you'll have 2 pieces. So what we're wanting is 2 of these pieces. So after that, you're just going to put hot glue around that half circle on the handle, and then you're going to glue one of those pieces on the front, and then of course the other piece is going to eventually go on the back. So here I'm just trimming it off at the same height of the handle. And of course, if you don't have one of these little shovels, you can use one of the little wooden dowels like you use for the mop. So So you can use one of the wooden dowels for the broom. You're just going to cut out that same half circle and glue it on either side of the wooden dowel. Now you're going to take your straw. Now for me, this was a very sticky situation. I didn't realize how sticky this straw was before I realized a better way to do it. But anyways, you're going to take your straw here. I'm just cutting off the pieces because I'm using straw that I already had at home that I was using for home decor. So here you're going to get some pieces of straw together, and then you're just going to end up gluing those pieces down onto the cardstock that you cut out. So it's going to end up looking something like this. So like I said, this was very sticky. I did not realize how sticky it was, but once again, you're just going to get some pieces of straw together. You're going to cut it at the bottom, and then you're going to stick it to the cardstock. So once it's all done all around the cardstock, it should be looking like this, and there you have your broom. So what I also did here was I put some hot glue around the bottom of where the straw is at to hold that, for more security, to hold that in place to the cardstock. And now what you're seeing me doing is pretty much going over where that glue is, and I'm going to use my jute twine again, and I'm just going to go around the bottom of where that straw is at, just for a more cleaner look. So once you got some jute twine around the bottom of the brush and on a little bit on the handle, you just see me here testing the broom out. You pretty much have your broom done, and there it is. So once again, I'm testing out the height of it, and I decided to cut the broom down some. So you just cut those straws down to like a shape of pretty much a broom. So now that you have cut your straw down and the broom is pretty much the shape of a broom, you are pretty much done. So here I am testing the broom out again, checking out the size of the broom, and then I decided to add some twine to the end of the broom handle. That is just so that the handle can look more cleaner at the top there instead of looking like that. So as you can see, I added the twine to the bottom of the handle. So now here is the mop and here is the broom. So I decided that I wanted to I decided I wanted to paint the broomstick the same color as the mop. So I already had this blue paint in my painting stock. So I just decided to use that to paint the broom to make it the same color as the mop. Now, I don't know how y'all do, but if I'm just painting, you know, something small or little, I don't even use the little paint plates. I just stick my little brush up in the paint, and you know, that's that. I'm not doing the whole paint plate or any of that. So that's what you see me doing. I'm sticking it in the bottle of the paint, and I'm just painting that straight on down. So here I'm just comparing the two shades of blue from the mop and the brush. It's pretty close. And then I just set that broom onto the mop just so that it can dry some. Just like that. I didn't want it to touch the cutting board, so that's why I just stuck it on there as that is drying. So now that we got our broom, we need a dustpan. So I'm taking a piece of paper and I'm just going to make a shape kind of like a dustpan, like you see here. And then I'm just going to end up cutting that shape out. All right, so what you're going to need for this is some paper, some cardstock, some cardboard, and of course a pencil. Oh, and I guess some scissors also. So here I am just cutting that shape of the dustpan out. So after I cut that dustpan out, I'm again comparing it to the size of the person that I have, just to make sure it's not big or too small, just to make sure we get the 1/12 scale. So after that, you're going to take some cardstock. So So what you see is the shape of the dustpan. I had practiced it earlier, so now I perfected it. So that's what I'm showing you is how I perfected it. So that piece of paper, you're going to go ahead and glue that on to the cardstock. Now this piece, or this part, is very important. When you glue the piece of paper on the cardstock, you want to make sure you're leaving some room on the cardstock at the bottom. And then after that's all glued on there, you're just going to go ahead and cut that out. And then once it's cut out, it's going to look like this. Okay, so boom, now you're going to take a small piece of cardboard like this, and then you're just going to put the bottom of where you left that cardstock on. You're just going to glue that bottom piece onto the cardboard. So the only piece that would have the cardboard would be the piece of cardstock. That's the only piece that's going to get glued down to the actual piece of cardboard. The rest of it is not going to be glued down. So you're just going to put a little bit of glue right there on the cardstock where that little piece is left at the bottom. Put some hot glue on there, and then you're going to glue that down to the cardboard. So that's what you're going to see me doing here. And as you can see, only that little piece has the cardboard attached to it. So after you cut that piece of cardboard off, you're going to be left with just the dustpan. And here I'm just showing you how it looks from the side, and in the front you'll have that little piece. And that is what's making it look more like the dustpan. That's the little piece, if it was real, that would go onto the floor while you're sweeping stuff into the dustpan, basically. After that, it's time to go ahead and paint the dustpan. I wanted to go ahead and match the dustpan with the broom, so I'm going to paint it the same blue as I painted the broom, and then the gray is just going to go on that bottom piece right there. So that's all I'm going to be doing here, is just painting the dustpan. And after you're done painting, you're just going to set that to the side so that that can dry. So next we're going to make some sponges. This is just some scrap pieces of sponge that I had left over from previous projects. So as you can see here, I'm going to cut the blue piece in half because it's too thick for what I need. So I'm just using a box cutter because I tried to do it with scissors and I was unable to cut that with scissors. So I'm just using a box cutter to cut that in half so that I have this size that I need. So after I cut that in half, I'm just going to hot glue that down to the yellow piece, and then after that you're just going to end up cutting the pieces to the size that you want, the size that will fit your miniature that you are wanting. So that's just what I'm going to be doing here. Alright, so boom, next we're gonna make a basket for those sponges. So this is just a top from a plastic bottle, and I'm going to take some more jute twine for that, and I'm just going to basically glue that jute twine around the bottle cap. So just take some hot glue and just start gluing that jute twine around there. Now here I added some jute twine to the bottom of the bottle cap just to give it a little more height and a little more dimension to the basket. Okay, and here I'm just going to take more jute twine. I took some of the scraps that I had cut off earlier, and I'm just going to make a handle for the basket. So just take a piece of scrap jute twine and just kind of glue it to the side, and you're just going to go from one side to the other and glue the other side down just to make the handle for the basket, just like that. All right, and there you have the basket. Just cut out the extra jute twine there at the bottom, and you will have a basket for the sponges that you just made. All right, so this basket held 4 of the little sponges that I made earlier. So it was able to fit all 4 of those sponges inside of it. All right, so boom, next we're gonna make our toilet bowl cleaner. So these are just some beads that I had laying around, and I just took one of those beads, and this is going to be the toilet bowl holder. You're going to need a bead, you're going to need some hot glue, and then you're going to need a non-stick. I use a non-stick ruler, and what I did was I just added some of that glue to the bottom of the bead and stuck it to the non-stick ruler. You're also going to need that Q-tip that you discarded from earlier. That is going to be the brush that you actually stick in the toilet. That's the cleaning bowl brush. So basically what I'm doing is I'm waiting for that glue to dry for the bottom of the tube that the brush comes inside. So once that is dry, you're going to have a bottom of your tube for the brush, and then you can either paint the brush any color you want, or you can leave it white. Okay, so boom, next we're going to make a laundry basket. So once again, I'm using one of the little smaller red cups, and I'm just cutting around. There's like a little indentation right there. I'm just cutting around that indentation, and then I'm going to use this as the base for the laundry basket. So once again, I'm going to use this jute twine, and we're going to just wrap that around the perimeter of the cup that I just cut out with hot glue. Now be very careful, because hot glue and plastic, you know, the plastic will melt. So just be very careful with that, and just like I said, go around the perimeter with the jute twine around the cup. Now as I'm doing this, I'm leaving just that little space on the bottom. I'm leaving that uncovered for now. I'm going to cover that up with thicker twine later on. So once the perimeter of the cup is pretty much covered up, you're going to get some thicker jute twine or cord, and you're going to cover the bottom of the cup up with the thicker cord. So I'm just going to cut a piece here, and then I'm just going to cover the bottom of the cup up with the thicker cord. Okay, now what you're going to do is you're going to get that same thick cord, and you're going to make some handles on the side of the laundry basket. So this is going to have 2 handles, one on each side. So I'm just going to find an area where the cord kind of looks like it's, you know, coming up. I'm going to use that as an opportunity to put one of the handles on that side just to cover it up and make it look more cleaner. And I'm just going to glue the other side down to make it look like a handle on the side, just like this. So after you glue the other side down, that will be one handle, and then you're just going to do the same on the other side to make the second handle. Right, so now we're going to make some wash rags, some cleaning rags, whatever you use to clean. We're going to use these to fill the basket up with. So first I find the shape that I want. I'm using leftover material from previous objects. So it's just like a little scrap piece that I'm just going to fold up and start hot gluing down into a square until I find, you know, the shape that I want for my wash cloths. And then I end up just cutting it just so that it's more, gives me a more cleaner line. And that is one rag. So I'm also going to do this with some scrap pieces of felt that I have. Once again, I'm just going to fold that up and start gluing it down as I go into a square to get the shape that I want, which is basically, you know, a folded up look for a rag. So that is our second piece, our second rag that we have. And then I had more leftover felt and I just did the same process as before. I'm folding it up and gluing as I'm folding it up, gluing as I go along. And this is going to give me my third rag. These are all different pieces. Two is made from felt, and then one was a piece of leftover fabric that I had, and that is going to give me some towels inside of my laundry basket. Alright y'all, so that is how I show y'all how to make 15 cleaning items in less than 30 minutes. Alright y'all, so be sure to go ahead and subscribe and hit that bell so that you guys don't miss the notification for when I show you guys how to make these bathroom fixtures.